How's it going, everybody? In this video, we're going to talk about Bitcoin. It is working on taking back 65,000. We're going to talk about some economic data that was just released. We're going to talk about some upcoming economic data to watch out for. And we also have news that BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF, IBIT, yesterday was its best day this month. On September 25, we saw inflows of over 180 million. And this marks a 5-day inflow streak. BlackRock's IBIT saw specifically 184.4 million in inflows. And this was the month's highest daily inflow of any fund. Now, before I get into this economic data we received and upcoming economic data, I do want to quickly mention Sphere 3D. A couple people are asking about it, and we do have an update. We do have a mining update, and we have some news of some recent machines received. They did receive their second batch of Antminer S21s, but you'll notice on the Bitcoin mining side, Sphere 3D has been really lacking lately. They have been working on upgrading machines. This has hurt their hash rate along with the halving, along with competition. So their Bitcoin mined average per day has dropped considerably. They're holding next to no Bitcoin. They're basically selling the Bitcoin they mine to continue to stay afloat. You'll notice that their deployed Bitcoin miners has actually come down. This is mostly because they're upgrading machines. And their hash rate has come down too. We do have some positives here though. They do have 12.5 megawatts expected to be completed by end of year, and they're still upgrading their machines. And this will likely take throughout the rest of this year, so their hash rate may suffer because of it. You know, to me, Sphere 3D is one of the, if not the highest risk Bitcoin miner. And like I said, either it's going to succeed and we're going to see huge multiples, or it's going to fail and we're going to lose everything. It's basically one of those. It is among the highest risk, but also potentially the highest reward. Only about a $15 million market cap with about a 1 exahash hash rate. Please find me a Bitcoin miner with a better hash rate to market cap. It's impossible. Having said that though, this is a very high risk Bitcoin miner. To me, it's worth a very small position. And I do expect it to run later in the cycle with alt season when the hype is really in, when people are throwing money at pretty much anything. And similar to last cycle, I do think this is going to really have its run towards the end of the cycle. Now, we do have some economic data to talk about. We do have weekly jobless claims, but this fell more than expected, which is a positive. This points to a steady labor market. And we have a comment from Chris Larkin, the director of trading and investing for E-Trade from Morgan Stanley. If there's a problem in the labor market, it's not showing up in the weekly jobless claims data. As is always the case though, the monthly jobs report will play a bigger role in defining market sentiment. But until there's evidence to the contrary, numbers like this will likely keep soft landing hopes alive and well. Is the Fed going to do it? Are we going to see that soft landing? To me, that still remains to be seen. We need to see that inflation is staying put, if not coming down even more. We need to see that unemployment isn't spiking. We also had GDP released, and it was unchanged from the second estimate, which has shown a 3% annualized growth. Economists estimated a 2.9% growth. And as said by Michael Pierce, the Oxford Economics Deputy Chief Economist, the revisions only strengthen our conviction that the US economy will continue to expand at a decent pace over the coming year, which suggests that labor market conditions are unlikely to deteriorate. Now, we do have another piece of economic data coming that's going to be important to watch, and this coming out tomorrow. This is PCE. And I've mentioned this before, you want to see it come in hopefully in line, not ticking up as the Fed is cutting rates. That would be a very bad sign. We want to see this continuing down, if not just staying steady. And looking at Bitcoin, it does look like it's breaking that 65,000, reclaiming the 200 MA, and this is fantastic. I'm still watching this ascending line. If we get rejected at some point, I do think we're going to come down and retrace this ascending line. It's going to be either at 63.5, it's going to be either at 64, 65 at some point, but I do think we might come down and retest at the least this trend line, this ascending support. That inverse head and shoulders played out beautifully, similarly to this one back here. We have the head, the shoulder, and we did go on a nice run. The market did react to it. The market did play it out. One thing that is concerning though, as I mentioned yesterday, is we do have a bearish RSI divergence, but we also have bullish RSI divergence hidden. The price is rising, higher highs, higher lows. However, RSI is seeing lower highs and lower lows. This is a divergence. The price isn't following the RSI isn't following the price. They're going in different directions. This might mean we don't hold this 65 and we retrace. This might mean we pull back a bit and retest our 200 MA. Let me show you on the daily. The 200 MA right at about 64,000. 63.9, but basically 64. We might come down and test that and kind of get rid of those divergences on the 4 hour, get back in line. But this is great. This is what we need. That break of 64, 65, break of the 200 MA. Next comes the flip, the 200 MA flipping the 50 MA. This 50 MA is now curling up. It's a matter of time if we can keep our momentum. It's a matter of time until this 50 breaks the 200 and we get a golden cross, which is very bullish. And our last golden cross was back in October when we were roughly in the 30,000s. And we went on to rally to new all-time highs. Bam. So this might be that final golden cross this cycle, where we don't see another death cross until crypto winter comes along, sometime in early 2026. Things are slowly getting more and more bullish. All we need now is a break of this descending resistance. We have now taken out our 65,000, taken out our 200 MA, and now it's just a matter of breaking this long trend we've been in. I do think once we break this long trend we've been in, the market will react. Everybody's watching this trend right now. And the trends that are most easy to see, the trends that the market can catch, those are the ones you want to trade. And there's one thing I notice with people with technicals is they go and find these crazy patterns that are very hard to find, things that you have to do extra steps to create. I like patterns that are very clear, that you barely even have to draw out the pattern. You can just look at it and say, okay, look at this clear pattern. These are the types of patterns that the market reacts to. So I do think once we break this descending resistance, we are going to rally. We have very few speed bumps ahead of us. We're basically marking zones off the list. It's like a to-do list. Now next to do is break this descending resistance, break these previous highs. We basically have like 3 or 4 steps left, and then we're in new price territory. I do expect Q4 to play out like it has every cycle. This is a halving year. It should be very, very exciting. And it has been so far. But what do you guys think? Do you think we're going to find resistance for a while, continue to kind of trade this pattern? Or do you think we're going to have an epic Q4? And remember last cycle, we saw these series of lower highs and lower lows. Then we got out of September. Right when we get into October, we started rallying and we had that Q4 rally like we have seen every cycle. Supply and demand. This is the effect of Bitcoin, of the 4-year cycle, of the incoming supply of Bitcoin getting cut in half every 4 years. This mechanic that is built into Bitcoin, that it revolves around so deeply, this is basically Bitcoin's recipe for success, along with being capped at 21 million Bitcoin. We have the vast majority, and we are fighting for only a few percentages left of Bitcoin's overall supply. If this chart doesn't make you bullish, I don't know what does. But how are you guys feeling about this economic data? How are you feeling about Bitcoin? Are we going to take new all-time highs out? Are we going to have an epic end-of-year rally? I do think everything macro-wise is lining up perfectly. We're seeing global M2 expansion. We're seeing money printing going on across countries. Bitcoin is at the perfect time in the 4-year cycle. From a technical standpoint, we are getting more and more bullish. But let me know your thoughts and opinions down below, guys. Thanks as always. I appreciate your support, and I'll see you on the next one.